Hi. I totally didn't have my board ready, but here it is. Microaction. Welcome to today's Facebook Live video with me, Allegra Stein. So glad you're here. Thanks to those of you who clicked to be reminded of the video. I am experimenting with this new platform called Be Live, and I'm loving it. If you are watching live, I would love it if you said hello in the comments. I can't see who's hopping on using this platform, so it helps me just to see your name pop up and I can see it on the side and say hello. But know that I see you out there, everybody. Today's topic, hold on one second. I got this weird thing in my, here we go. I had noise coming in my ear. Today's topic is microaction, okay? Microaction is, hi Miranda, love that you're here. Every time, it's so awesome. Microaction is a common thing that I talk about. If you have found me through the Women's Strength Summit, you heard me speak about this during my interview there with Steph Gaudreau, and it has a lot of resonance with people. If you have not heard me speak about microaction, then today is the day. It is one of my most favorite little faction hacks and ways to kind of get unstuck and start taking action on things. Couple little notes, as always, feel free to like, feel free to share. I'm appreciating all of that love so much. It means a lot. And very importantly, please don't hesitate to share all of your thoughts and insights and comments below the video. Even if you can't watch live, I am following up throughout the day and the days following as I see them come through. And I'm using your insights and your ideas as inspiration for upcoming videos. So keep them coming. And the way it's going to work now with Be Live, which is so awesome, is that as I'm speaking, as questions and comments and ideas come up, share them in the comment section. And at the end of kind of my little talk presentation, what I will do is go through all of those and I can bring them up live on screen so you can see what other people are sharing and answer you guys directly. Sound good? Okay. Okay. Microaction. My idea of microaction was inspired by a book I read called The Kaizen Way. Now, I don't know if you've heard of Kaizen, but it's a book, it's a philosophy out of Japan, I think, and it's essentially this idea of perfection through tiny, tiny actions. One of the examples that was used in the book that very much resonated and stuck with me was the individual who, let's say, was having a difficult time getting in shape. They weren't feeling well. They were a few pounds overweight what they wanted to be, and they would go to their doctor, and the doctor said, well, you know, you need to exercise and eat better. And it was nothing new, right? The how-to was clear. She had heard the how-to countless times all over the place, but she still wasn't taking action on it. So she was speaking with someone who decided to take the approach, the Kaizen approach, who said, all right, here's what I want you to do. Next time you're watching television, when a commercial comes up, are you willing to stand up during the commercial? And she said, well, yeah, I'll totally stand up during the commercial. Like, yeah, I can do that. And I said, okay, just do that. She said, that's it? Just stand up during the commercials? And the doctor said, yeah, just stand up during the commercials. So she went home, got back into her routine. She was watching TV that night. A commercial came on. She's like, oh yeah. And she stood up during the commercial. And then she sat back down. What happened was that when she did that teeny tiny little thing that from the outside may look inconsequential, right? For any friends watching her or any partners or whatever, like, what are you, just standing up? That's it? That's all you figured out from your appointment with that person? Was that her brain was kind of registering that as a success. It's like, yeah, cool. You said you would do this thing and you did it. You took this teeny tiny little step, or you just did this thing and you did it. Hooray. Good job. And it was this reinforcing little boost. And what happened is, as she was standing up, she kept doing it. And then she said, well, if I'm going to stand here, I may as well walk in place. And so she started to walk in place. And you can see where it went, that just that tiny little action started moving her along and generating momentum in the direction that she wanted to be going. Whereas before she may have thought, well, I want to run a marathon, or I want to walk 5 miles, or whatever that long-term goal was, or that goal of exercising every day and eating well every day. It was too big. It was too big to even start. And so when she was given permission and given that teeny tiny little micro action to take, all of a sudden it felt doable, almost to the point of silliness. Like, yeah, I can do that. So as I read that, and the book is full of different examples like that, about ask tiny questions, solve small problems, take small steps, I really started to incorporate that into how I see action taking and getting things done, and came up with this idea of micro actions, just because I love micro. I think it's great. So let me just hide this here so it's not in your way. Okay, so I started to notice little examples of that in people that I was speaking with. I shared this story again in my Women's Strength Summit interview about a woman who came to one of my workshops who was talking about how she had all this laundry to do, and for lots of reasons she had to wash it by hand, and she had like 3 baskets of laundry that she had to do by hand, and she was just resisting it because in her mind it was, all right, I got to do all of this laundry. So I helped her break that down into a tiny little micro action, and I said, what's the smallest little amount of that thing that you could do? Like, I want it to be so tiny that it feels almost silly. Excuse me one second. Let me just turn off my home phone. There we go. You know, I want it to feel silly. I want it to be like, well, yeah, I could totally do that. That's how a good micro action feels. So we got close. She said, well, I could do 1 basket. I said, make it even smaller. And she said, well, I could just do 1 shirt. And I could just tell the energy in her changed. You know, she went through like, well, of course I could do 1 shirt. That's the moment I was looking for. That's when I knew we had hit on a micro action that was going to have a lot of impact for her, because it was small enough to feel kind of almost pointless. But I knew that just that tiny little bit of action, that tiny bit of motion, would likely be enough to get her going. You know, there was every possibility that she would pick up that 1 shirt, do it, and then just say, well, I'll just do another shirt, and then I'll do another shirt. And then all of a sudden she's done 10 shirts or an entire basket. Another example, someone who I know wanted to do a rebrand on her business. And the very first step she kind of identified was, well, I got to get pictures. I need to get pictures taken. But she just was putting off getting pictures taken, likely because regardless of what anyone else thinks about what it takes to get pictures done, it just felt too big. So I said, what would be the very first teeny tiny little thing that you would do if you were going to be getting your pictures done? And she said, well, I guess I would call the photographer. And I said, is that doable? Can you call the photographer? Oh yeah, I can totally call the photographer, right? There was that moment. There was that like, yeah, I can do that I was looking for. And I said, that's it. Just call the photographer. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to go get the pictures done. You don't have to commit to the rebrand. Just call the photographer. And next thing you know, the next time I spoke with her, she says, oh my gosh, I called the photographer. And not only have I called the photographer, but we have the date on the calendar, and I've gone out and I figured out what outfit I'm going to wear. And I've also reached out to my web designer to get that ball rolling, because I know I'm going to have the pictures by this certain date. So her teeny tiny little micro action triggered this whole cascade of events that then resulted in more stuff happening. And again, this all feeds into the things I've been talking about over the past few days. You go down a path, you can just stand there and wonder, or you can start doing stuff and seeing what happens. And every little step you take opens up new things in front of you that you don't even have any idea about yet. So I'd be curious, if you're watching, like if there's something that you're feeling stuck on, if there's a project ahead of you, it could be in business, it could be in life, it could be personal, whatever, and you're not sure what a possible micro action could be. You just know that it's sitting there and you want to do it, but you're not doing it. And you're willing to share about it in the comments. That would be awesome. It would be awesome for the others who are watching, just to kind of have something to relate to. And I'm happy while I'm here live to kind of workshop it with you to see if we can come up with a micro action that might get you on your way. So it's funny when it comes to micro actions, because again, from the outside, if I have a session with a client and we're working together and we have this partnership going on, and they come and they're feeling stuck, and what comes out of that conversation is this teeny, teeny, tiny little step. Again, from the outside, it might not make any sense. Like, what, you just had a whole session and you're just going to do this one little thing? But when you're in it and when you're experiencing it, and when you experience that measure of relief of like, oh, that's all I have to do. The image that I like to use, the metaphor that I like to use is, there's a mountain you want to climb and it feels like a mountain, and you just keep looking up at the top of the mountain. And when you look at the top of the mountain, you likely don't want to start because your brain just starts to go crazy with imagining what's going to happen. What if I get this far? What if this happens? What if? And so what happens? You just sit there and you just think about it. You think about it and you don't do anything about it. And your imagination just takes over. But if instead of looking up at the top of the mountain, which is good, I mean, it's good to have a sense of what direction you're going, but then to just as quickly look down at your feet and to say, all right, if I want to walk up that mountain, it's going to happen one little tiny foot shuffle step at a time. And to ask yourself, all right, what would that very first little step be? What would it look like just to move my little toe over the start line? And to trust that just letting yourself have permission to just do that thing will trigger a series of events and discoveries and insights that you wouldn't have had otherwise. I was talking to someone today. Oh yeah. I was talking to someone earlier and she said, yeah, I've just realized that inspiration is the result of action. I love that. I think I'm going to share that today over on my little Instagram feed where I like to post little notes. So inspiration results from action. And I'd like to say inspiration results from microaction. Because we just put so many labels on like, well, what is an important step? And I got to do this whole thing. I got to get 10 or 100 followers. I got to get 50 likes. Like whatever the thing is that you are convinced you want to have happen for whatever reason, allow yourself to just break it down into teeny tiny, like how do you get one? How do you get one? And honestly, if there's something that you are just feeling a ton of resistance to, that the idea of even taking a tiny amount of external action is heavy, like let's say you got to make a bunch of phone calls and you don't even want to make one phone call, then the micro action might be to think about the phone call. Like, can you think about the phone call? Can you dial one number? And again, if you have an example, something you're working on, I know that someone here has shared some comments. For some reason, I'm not seeing them pop up. Let's see. I think that Liv said something. Okay, cool. So Tanya said, I want to include veggies to my breakfast. I could easily eat a couple of carrot sticks. Yes, exactly. And doesn't that feel better? Like just say, oh, I don't have to eat veggies with breakfast. Your brain doesn't know how to measure that. And I've been having more conversations with people about these nebulous big goals. It just can feel all consuming and big, and without any kind of measure. But instead of saying, I want to eat veggies with breakfast, right? There's no time specification. There's no how many veggies. There's no for how many days. If you allow yourself to just say, oh, I'm going to eat one carrot stick with breakfast today. Just one carrot stick with breakfast today. That's specific. It's measurable. It's doable. It's micro, but it has power. And that's another piece of this too, is just trusting that you can go micro and that it can be mega. Got to write that down too. Micro can be mega, right? Gosh, for some reason I can't see. Micro can be, maybe it's just going to be micro is mega. I forget who it is. Is it Melissa? Someone who, is always turning what I say into little hashtags, and I'm going to do it today. I apologize for not knowing off the top of my head who that was. Okay. All right. Are there any other comments, questions, ideas about microaction that want to come through while I'm live? Again, I'm having a hard time seeing, and apologies, but I'm having a hard time seeing the comments for some reason popping up. Tanya says yes. Awesome. Let me know how that goes. Come back and tell me what happens with the Veggie Experiment. I think that's all we got for today. Microaction. It's a simple one. Really quick, ways to stay connected. You can actually message me directly through my business page if you want. I've been connecting with a couple of you that way, and it's been totally awesome. And as always, if you are looking for kind of direct implementation of these little things on your life and the things that you're going through, you are invited, as always, to have a complimentary discovery call with me. There are no strings attached, but it'll kind of give us a place to connect, which is what I love most. I love being in conversation and finding out about you specifically. That invitation is there all the time. I've put the link up, and I will share it in the comments too, so you know that it's there. There you go. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. It's Friday, so I'm going to aim for 12:30 again, unless any of you have any specific time suggestions or requests. I will honor those. Inspiration comes from Microaction. Let me see if I can get that up there. Awesome. Yes, Tanya. Inspiration comes from Microaction. From Microaction. And I would love to know what your microaction ends up being. If you watch this, your challenge, your assignment is to come up with a microaction around something in your life and share it in the comments. And I will come and I will be your microaction cheerleader. That's right. Microaction cheerleader. Got a lot of good stuff coming up from today. Thanks for that. Cool. All right. Thanks again, guys. I hope to see you guys tomorrow. I will be posting again another link with that reminder. Keep your eyes peeled for it. I tend to post it a little bit later in the day. But again, without hearing any time requests, I think the 12:30 Eastern could work for me again tomorrow. So maybe I'll aim for that. I'm curious, actually, if anyone would be down for an earlier in the morning scene. Like, would 9 work? I love kind of the 9 a.m., 10 a.m. hour, but only if some of you can be there. Thank you, Tanya. You're awesome. Okay, I'll figure it out. Sorry, I'm kind of all over the place right now. You're great. Hope to connect with you again tomorrow. Feel free to reach out directly if you have questions or things that come up, and I will see you in the comments and questions. And yes, happy Thursday.